Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Sach Kahun Toh, which is Neena Gupta's autobiography. The reasons for picking this up included me being a huge fan of Neena ji, and I have always admired her work, her personal life, the grace with which she has carried herself, and the strong woman that she has raised, Masaba Gupta. In general, I have a huge love for autobiographies, and I'm going to keep discussing them in this space. Neena ji herself mentions that writing this book was very therapeutic for her, and she basically wanted to purge herself of so many incidents that have happened to her. She started off with talking about her humble upbringing back in Karol Bagh in New Delhi. She talks in length about her mother and the relationship she shared with her mother. Her mother, she says, had Gandhian principles. She had two master degrees. She was very well educated for her times and very independent and deeply trusted by the women around her. And she was a very strong woman who always tried to ingrain this mindset into Neena ji that she needs to have a very good, sound education. Now, her mother wanted her to become an IAS officer. Things didn't pan out that way, but she anyway went on to do her BA, MA, and then MPhil in Sanskrit. And later on, when Neena ji wanted to pursue acting and join National School of Drama, even though her parents were not in favor of it, but when they saw her so passionate about NSD, they gave their full support. So I think that is very important for parents. Parents have their own line of thought. They always want that we should be independent, we should have financial freedom, which makes them push us towards good education. But then recognizing your child's passions and having faith in them, that also is very important. But at the same time, Neena ji does say that there have been times in her life when she's looked back and realized and thanked her mother for having pushed her to get an education. Because had she not been able to make it in acting, then she would have always had her education to fall back upon. She could have always become a teacher. So I definitely would like to stress on the importance of education for women. So this is testament to the fact that the decisions of parents are mostly and almost always good for us. Neena ji talks about how her mother never really tried to ingrain this mindset into her that the ultimate goal of her life, because she's a woman, should be marriage. She was conservative in her own ways, but very strong for her times. Neena ji also mentions that while she may not have been very frank with her mother, frank enough to discuss that she was being eve teased, and purely because she was afraid that her mother would blame her for it. But at the same time, she's very close to Masaba and they can share anything. And I think it is beautiful how she talks about the evolution of motherhood from generation to generation and how we can always choose to change our behavior and not simply imitate what has been done to us in our childhood. And we can break so many patterns with such a mindset. Neena ji has spoken about her career from her very first movie Adarshila to playing Ava Ben in Gandhi to doing the famous Hawkins ad, which I'm sure all millennials remember. She's also spoken about how sometimes one decision can have lots of repercussions which we may not see coming because there's perhaps no one to guide us, no one who can walk us through the pros and cons of decisions in our career. So it is very important to have a mentor. Like she goes on to describe her experience while doing a movie called Saath, in which she played the heroine's sidekick and who was kind of a dumb character saying the same dialogue over and over again. And she herself refers to that character as that of a Lalu Ladki and tells us that that led to her getting typecast, getting the same kind of roles again and again, which she was not ready to do, led to a lot of disappointment and made her feel the absence of a good mentor in her life. She also describes quite a long relationship with a man who would indulge in cheating very often. And I looked at it as a process while I was reading it, that the way she says that she was not able to address it when it first happened, and she did not have the courage and the mental clarity to call it off that time. And it took her some years, but then finally she did develop the clarity to realize that her self worth did not depend on the guy, and she did call it quits. So many times people do not know how to deal with cheating in a relationship, and it may take a while, and we cannot really expect people to call it off the second it happens. You know, And so it's a process and it can take its due course of time. But the important part is that we must recognize it, and once we recognize it, we need to dissociate it from our self worth and address it and walk away from such relationships. Neena ji has spoken about her long association with Shyam Benegal, with whom she's collaborated on movies like Mandi and Trikal. Shyam Benegal ji was someone I remembered for Zubeda, and I remember what a beautiful work of art that was. Neena ji has also mentioned so many TV series that have run on DD, like Yatra, like Khandan. I remember watching Khandan and admiring the character of Ketaki in it, which was way ahead of her times. She played a character of a married woman who was not interested in motherhood but prioritized her career over motherhood. And and this is something that modern women are also vilified for if they share similar traits. And this is 1985 when she portrayed such a character on screen, so it was really brave for that time. Neena ji has also spoken about her affair with Vivian Richards, but has not gone into too much detail out of respect for Masaba, which I think is totally fine. Now, nobody is condoning an affair here, but the very fact that it happened and it was open to public speculation, to media speculation, and in spite of all those odds, Neena ji went ahead with the pregnancy, had Masaba, raised her, and actually raised her to be a very strong woman. Masaba today is a successful entrepreneur, a beautiful actor, and a role model for so many women. And I think the way Neena ji has raised her is commendable. There's also something else which I really like about Neena ji, and that is that she has the courage to admit that she is not the correct person to talk about or to give advice on many topics, and that frankness is not something that all celebrities have. So anyone you admire does not have to be perfect. Sometimes it is their courage to accept that they are imperfect which you actually admire. After becoming a mother, Neena ji also produced and directed this brilliant documentary Bazar Sitaram, for which she's won the national award. It is available on YouTube and you can watch it anytime. Neena ji also produced and directed Dard and Sans, which were two series that ran on DD. She describes meeting Mr. Vivek Mehra, their courtship period, their getting married, and how then so many people back in Bombay thought that she'd shifted to Delhi and she's not in Bombay anymore. She stopped getting roles, stopped getting offers. And then finally she went on to Instagram and put it out there that she is very much in Mumbai and she's looking for good roles to play. And that led to the start of her second innings. So Neena ji has been there in so many movies and so much of OTT content over the past 5 years. Whether it's been Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan, whether it's been The Fabulous Badhai Ho, whether it's been the 2 seasons of Panchayat, or the 2 seasons of Masaba Masaba on Netflix, which I absolutely love and it's a must watch, or whether it's been The Last Color, directed by Chef Vikas Khanna of MasterChef fame. Towards the end of this book, she's gone and talked about her family members dedicating entire chapters to them. I felt that maybe with age we are able to look back and introspect and see where each person was coming from. Even though we may not have liked so many things about their behavior, but today we can understand, what was the reason or what was the basis of those behaviors, and we are able to be at peace with it, or not really have any grudge towards anyone, which is again something which I really admire Neena ji for. That she doesn't really have any bitterness for so many people in her life who may have wronged her at some point or the other, but she holds very mature perspectives regarding all of them. There are so many takeaways from this book for me. Firstly, I would say the importance of education. Secondly, there was an experience that she had with a female relative who helped her a lot during her postpartum period. But that woman had a troubled marriage, and when Neena ji took sides with her husband over some matter, that led to the souring of many things. So this made me feel that yes, it may not be a very good idea to take sides with 2 people in a relationship, because that can lead to things getting messy for everyone. And it's always important to have boundaries in relationships, because sometimes we may feel that everything is very, very good in a very close friendship or in a very close relationship, where you're not blood related. but sometimes it may be too good, and we may feel that it is almost like family. But that does not mean that there are no loopholes or things cannot go wrong, and things do go wrong. So you should always be prepared for such situations. Lastly, I just want to say that this was a beautiful insight into her life, seeing her talk unapologetically about so many things, seeing her having risen above all kinds of tough circumstances in her life. And if I were to rate it, I would give it 4.5 stars out of 5. And the book is available on Amazon. Go get your copy.